Well, hi everybody, Matt Kloskowski here, and in this video we're going to take a look about how to take a subject and draw more attention to it using a couple of different techniques with local adjustments and On1 Photo Raw 2021. I'm going to use a wildlife photo in this example. You could use anything. It's not restricted to just wildlife, but I had the idea and I use it on a lot of my wildlife photos here. So let's go ahead and dive in here. So what we got going on is I can show you, here's the original photo, okay? And it's, number one, it's underexposed, okay? So if I were to get this about where I want it, you know, probably somewhere about here. So a couple of things need to happen first. Number one, I gotta crop it, all right? So I shot this with, I believe it was a Sony A9. I'm gonna get, yeah, I think it was my Sony A9. So 24-ish megapixels. I still got a lot of croppability that I can do. And honestly, I mean, if you're doing bird photography, you can usually never get close enough. I'm gonna crop it creatively. Feel free, if you've got an aspect ratio that you are printing or sharing, this is more of a 4:5 aspect ratio, would be good for Instagram. But again, aspect ratio, that's up to you. You've got to figure out what you're sharing to, okay? So there's the crop that I would do on this, and still plenty of sharpness, but everything's good. I think the background competes for attention here. My personal opinion. You may differ, perfectly okay. For me, the background competes for my attention, okay? So while I can go in here and I can start playing around with this, one of the things that I'll do, I'll generally get my background down to where I don't feel it's competing for attention. And of course, the subject is too dark in this case. So that's when I jump over to the local adjustments, and you can use any number of tools to go in here and bring attention to something. So I'm going to go over to my masking tool. I'm going to come up here to the AI masking brush. And the way it works is you've got keep and remove. So keep is green. So let's go in here to keep, and I'll go in and I'll just paint with some green onto the eagle's body here, over on the head, get the feet. And the key to this is it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you're going to see you really don't want it to be perfect because it's going to look weird if it was. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then I can hold down Option on Mac, Alt on PC. I can go into Drop and just go in here and scribble on the background a little bit, hit Apply at the top, and it should do a pretty good job of getting in there and bringing out a little bit of, or at least keeping me from having to make a selection, I should say. Okay, so it's done. Did a really good job. I could use my left bracket key, make my brush a little bit smaller, try to get in up here, again, hit Apply one more time. I think we're already close enough, especially those edges are dark enough. You're gonna see we have a lot of flexibility here to not have to make it perfect. All right. So when we're done, we'll go over here and hit done. All right. So now if you look, we have a local adjustment layer that has our eagle masked out of it, or basically selected. And now I can control the eagle and I can make it brighter. Now, obviously the edges don't look right. So I would come up here to my masking brush. I've got a very, very high feather setting, of 100 up there. Okay. And by the way, if you're seeing an extra little circle around my brush, that's just because of some recording fragments that are left over from my recording software, but I actually don't see that many rings. So just so you know, but I can hit the left and the right bracket keys, make it bigger. And then what I would do is with a high feathered brush, okay, and I'm on paint out mode, I would just paint around these edges. All right, zoom in a little bit, paint around those edges. And because it's a feathered brush, you are going to blend in your changes nicely. This should not look like it's cut out from a background. That's actually the last thing you want, is for this selection to be absolutely perfect. So I know a lot of people out there spend a lot of time trying to get selections perfect. And as a result, when they share their final image, it looks like something was pasted in or out or whatever of its background. All right. So you can see here, I just use the edge. I'm never actually bringing the middle of the brush over here, right? I'm just using the edge to just work in on those little fine edges there. Okay. So there we go. So now we have what I would consider a nice, more natural selection around here. I think it's looking pretty good. Right about there. All right. What's nice about this is now when we're done with this, we can come back and we can look tomorrow and say, yeah, you know, I think the eagle's a little too bright, so let me darken it. Or maybe it's not bright enough, so let me make it a little bit brighter. But I've dialed in, I can make my subject stand out now. I might just fade in a little bit more. There we go. It was looking a little bit weird on the edge there. But now I can really dial this in any way that I want. But here's what's really nice about this too. I actually think my background looks okay now compared to the eagle. But if you wanted to, and again, just take this as an extra step, I don't know that I would do it in this photo. All right. Honestly, if I were to finish this photo, I'd probably bring the eagle a little bit darker, go back to develop and just do an overall brightening somewhere right around there. Okay. But I want to just show you, because I do have to use this sometimes. You go back to your adjustments. Okay. I'm going to add an adjustment. Then I'm going to go click on the mask of the original one that I had. So the one that's got the eagle where we brightened it. I'm going to click on that mask icon. I'm going to click copy to copy the mask. I'm going to click on the mask icon of the new adjustment layer. And then I'm going to click paste. Paste isn't going to do what I want though. I have to click invert. What this does now is this gives me total control over the background. So now I have the background in here that I can go in and manipulate separately. Again, I don't think I have to do that in this case. I think everything looked okay. But if you did, if you found that you wanted to work on the background separately, this would be a nice, easy way to do it where I can make that background even darker. Again, I think we're okay in this one, so I'll just delete that. But take that as a little public service announcement if you wanted to take it a step further. But for me, I would go in here, maybe make that a little bit brighter, and then finish it off with, you guessed it, go in here to effects, throw in a little bit of a big softy vignette, maybe take the center point of it and just cheat over toward the left just a hair. I think it's probably a little bit too dark, but somewhere right around there. Okay. And then again, you can always do micro adjustments overall inside develop with your exposure, you know, something along those lines. So the before and after is probably going to look pretty dramatic when we look at this. Because remember, it was underexposed to begin with. So you can't necessarily judge it on the before and after, but that's the before. That's the after. If I were to go to my local adjustments and just turn off this adjustment that we did, you can see here, I think that makes a nice enhancement to it. Maybe pull it back just a little bit here. But I think that makes a nice little enhancement there where we're able to go in and just draw attention to something in the photo. So if it's not an eagle in the sky, it could be any wildlife, it could be a flower, it could be anything that you want to draw more attention to. This is a really nice technique to do. And it's pretty flexible because you know, I always think like everything looks good today. And then I come back tomorrow and I look at it, I'm like, I kind of want to tweak it. Makes it very, very easy to go back in there and adjust it if you need to.